Hello everyone, my name is Nick Infernus and welcome back to another ranking. So, year 2 of what is currently my favorite toy line has started. How did it start? Or how well did it start? Honestly, this is probably the weakest wave legacy so far. And I should probably mention, that's not saying much. All 4 waves have been good in their own rights. In fact, I actually had to make some pretty hard choices in regards to what got the number 1 spot in my overall list, which I will get to in about a year's time when Legacy ends. But if I had to rank all the waves from worst to best, this one, Wave 4 or Evolution Wave 1, would definitely be at the bottom. Now, not that wave. It still had some really good figures, but for the most part, it was mainly just mid to good figures. And if we single out, or if we take out the reissues and repaints, this wave only has 2 good figures, which, I mean, Wave 1 only had... Okay, well, Wave 1 also had 2 great figures, but you get my point. Well, no, Wave 3... I mean, all the other waves had more than just 2 great figures, but this one, most of them were fine. They were good, but it's that the wave is mainly just made up of those good figures. But this still made for an interesting ranking, so let's do it. This is my ranking of every figure from Transformers Legacy's 4th wave, or Evolution's 1st wave, whatever you want to say. So again, no store exclusives unless you... Yeah, no store exclusives, so of course, no Magnificus. I guess this first thing technically only applies to the end of year rankings, so I'll probably get rid of this bullet point for later wave rankings. But the repaints and repacks one, since I might as well just take out this whole slide entirely, but same general rules. Repacks and repaints are included. All right. So, number 10, Core Class Sludge. Yeah, I think most of us saw this one coming. This is just great or good, and it's a shame because 86 Sludge, the leader class, as flawed as the QC is on that figure, it's at least an enjoyable piece. It's an enjoyable piece. It's big. It scales really well with the other Dinobots. It looks really accurate. It's got a fun transformation. This has one of those traits, and that is that it scales well with the other Dinobots. At least I assume it scales well with the other Dinobots because we only have him and Slag right now. But it doesn't pose well. The transformation is boring. The joints might actually be a bit too tight. And just look at it. Tell me this isn't one of the most weird and ugly figures you've ever seen. Honestly, I didn't think we could get worse than Hot Rod, but Legacy found a way of hoping that other Dinobots aren't as bad. Then again, they all turned to arms and legs, so hopefully. Right. Number 9 is Deluxe Class Breakdown. Whatever your thoughts are on Wild Rider, I imagine you'll probably like this guy less. This is just Wild Rider again, with Breakdown's colors, a parts-forming spoiler, a gun, a new head and chest, new shins, and, okay, I guess there is more to this thing than just a basic... They at least put in the effort of retooling some parts, except for the hood for some reason. But again, this is just Wild Rider, but worse. Moving on. Number 8, Deluxe Class Scrap Hook. Now, if I'm going to be honest, if I had to pick which of these figures was the most disappointing from this wave, I'd probably have to say Scrap Hook. He was one of the deluxes that I was looking forward to the most from this wave, and honestly, what brings him down is the QC. His shoulders, not his shoulders. Well, yeah, his shoulders. Let's start with the shoulders. His shoulders, they pop out really easily, like 86 cup easily. The legs don't have the same issue, or the knees, but it is pretty annoying, especially during transformation. Speaking of annoying during transformation, the elbows, which I actually meant to say earlier before correcting myself, they pop out. And keep in mind, they're not supposed to do that. They really should have been pinned in. I don't know why they're not. Not to mention that they're really loose, and they really hamper the transformation. It's a fine process from like the front area, like this area up here with the truck nose and the basically everything that's not the bed is actually decently fun, but the bed is the arms really drag it down. Now, that being said, I do like the integration of the different parts forming pieces, like the guns making the engine, this crane piece, these smokestacks. It's a fun figure as like a display piece, and it does make for a really good first addition to our new Junkions. I just wish he could have been better is all. Because look at him and tell me that he doesn't look cool. Okay. Number 7, Deluxe Class Needlenose. And honestly, out of all the figures in this wave, this is the one figure that I'm kind of the most split on. Because on the one hand, the robot mode looks really neat. If you can, get past the nose cone hanging off his ass, which I honestly don't mind it all that much. If anything, it kind of blends into the design and gives him an interesting silhouette. And the posing is really good. Like, way better than this figure looks like it should be capable of. Basically, maximum elbows and maximum knees with toe down, really good pivot, wrists when Point Blank couldn't pull that off. And he accomplishes all this despite having this giant backpack that is basically just the entire plane, except not the entire plane because parts of it do become his shoulders. The transformation is actually even pretty decent. He actually does do a little bit of transforming, and the jet mode is where we start having problems. It's not bad, it's just I don't really feel anything when looking at it. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the transformation doesn't end in a satisfying way. It just kind of ends with this weird jet, and also the Target Masters. The Target Masters a lot when looking at them either, except for what is that? Zigzag? I don't get why the black one's not Sunbeam, but for some reason that one's Zigzag. Why the hell is there so much paint on this thing? And you might think, oh, is there like black plastic painted yellow or yellow plastic painted black? No. It's purple plastic painted yellow and black. Why couldn't that have gone somewhere else? I mean, Needlenose did get pretty much every detail you'd want except for some spots on the thighs. But come on. Maybe like take some of that paint and put it somewhere else. Maybe give him some interesting details to spice it up a bit. This is a good figure and all that, but it is the most meh figure to me out of this entire wave. It's the one that does the least. Number 6. 6. There we go. Voyager Leo Prime. Sorry about that, my scroll wheel wasn't cooperating with me. And this is actually a pretty fun figure, all things considered. I'm actually a really big fan of the Lion mode. It's amazing how clean it is from most angles. And the robot is surprisingly enjoyable despite all the cartoon accurate lion cable hanging off of him. Because all of that is designed to get out of the way so you can actually pose the arms better. And even the posability is pretty nice. Yeah, he's basically only got 90 elbows, but not 90 elbows, 90 knees, but the arms have better posability than you expect from this design. And the Evo Fusion gimmick on this guy is actually really fun. I've debated posing him neutral or posing him with all his weapons out, and I might actually do the weapons out, even if it means I have to, put everything back in when I want to go into lion mode. And I also appreciate that the lion head in robot mode is on a sliding track. Basically, you can push it in for cartoon accuracy, but you can then pull it out for posability, and you also need to pull it out for transformation. And I don't hate the lion mode. I think it's actually pretty decent. A nice little homage to the lion mode he had in Beast Wars 2nd, while also being pretty realistic. Now, of course, people immediately customized it to where it actually didn't look like Nina from Full Metal Alchemist. At least I think that's the character. But it's still pretty decent looking. Transformation is a bit odd. It's certainly, it's a bit clashy. Getting the arms to tab into the lion head can be pretty frustrating. And getting him back into lion mode isn't even big. No, getting him back into robot mode from lion mode is an even bigger pain. But with that being said, this is still a really fun Voyager figure, and even if this is my new least favorite Voyager from Legacy, at least in terms of new molds, this is I'd still call this an example of them knocking it out of the park. Right. Number 5, Deluxe Class Armada Hotshot. So, If you told me that Hotshot was my favorite of these new deluxes, I would not have believed you. This was my first new figure from Legacy Evolution, and he's actually really good. He's a figure that really grew on me from one that I thought was pretty good at first to one that I ended up liking more than most of the deluxes from this line. Like I don't think I said during this list where I'd put these guys on my overall ranking. Let's just say this guy is right above Dead End in terms of where I'd put it on the overall ranking of all four waves combined. Despite the way the legs, it is more knee bend than just the 45% that we thought, because these panels, these clear plastic panels, are on these little armatures on ball joints that can swing out of the way, and you can get some really deep knees out of that. And all the posing on is pretty good too. And even the transformation's decent. It's not the best. It's certainly got its clashy aspects, and it can be pretty uncomfortable getting the windshield to peg in, but it is worth it for the vehicle mode, which is exactly what it wants to be. And really, this figure is just that. It's exactly what it wants to be, while what it wants to be is a really weird design. And honestly, it's just really nice to get more Armada stuff. Would have been nice if this came with a Minicon, but who am I to complain? Number 4, Core Class Slag. This was another one that really surprised me, because as it turns out, I love this thing. It's actually a nice, fun little Core Class Dinobot, and honestly restored my faith in a good Core Class set of Dinobots. This single figure alone convinced me that the other Dinobots could potentially be good. So first of all, this looks way better than Sludge. Like, it's not even a competition. This just looks better. And even the transformation is super fun. This is what the 86 Slag should have been, with the chest plate that actually becomes the jaw, and the toes that actually become his golden back humps. And another thing I really liked, the posability. Yeah, he's missing elbows, which is one of my only issues with this guy. Oh no. But it's actually really good for a core class. He has deep knees, a waist swivel. The arms still have great range, even without the elbows. Like, those legs can go really high. And the combined torso mode with Sludge is honestly getting me really excited, even if Grimlock's leg mode is pretty dumb looking. But I'm still really excited for that eventual core class Volcanicus. Number 3, core class Sound Blaster. Yeah, obviously this was going to be the best core class of the wave. It's based on the best core class from Kingdom. This is a straight up repaint of Soundwave into Sound Blaster, and if I'm being honest, I think I might like this just a little bit better. The tolerances on my figure are a bit looser, like the butterfly joints in his shoulders are a bit looser than ones on Soundwave, but honestly I consider that a blessing because they move a lot easier now. And even the way that the shoulder cannon plugs in, much better than on Soundwave. With Soundwave, I have to bend his arm back at a 45-degree angle just so that the shoulder cannon can go in all the way. On Sound Blaster, it just goes right in. And if I'm being completely honest, this color scheme just works so much better for me than Soundwave's. I don't know, black is one of my favorite colors, and same thing goes for purple, and I am just in love with the black body with the purple window. It looks solid. I kind of already knew that I was going to love this figure when they announced it, and I was definitely down for getting it. Number 2, Leader Class Transmetal 2 Megatron. I already went over this guy in my Year 1 ranking, so basically just a little bit of, I guess, a summary. Great robot mode, great dragon mode, fun transformation, and he is absolutely massive. Like, this is what Leader Class should be. This right here is easily like this, and the 86 Dinobots are just the definition of Leader Class. Giant figures that are fun to mess around with and are just some of the best figures in your collection. Number 1, Voyager Class IDW Tarn. I'm not gonna lie, I predicted this. The hardest thing when it comes to this guy's placement on a list was actually not where he placed on this list, which is obviously number 1, but where he placed on the overall list. Now, I'm not mainly going to focus on what I like about this guy on its own here. what I'm going to do, compare him to the figure that topped my year 1 list, which is G-Axis. How does this guy compare to G-Axis? Well, in robot modes, they are practically identical. Both of them are extremely accurate to their chosen character, but I might be willing to skew it in Tarn's favor because it is a much more appealing design than G-Axis. Now, don't get me wrong, I like G-Axis' design, but I won't argue with anyone who finds him to be ugly, even if I don't. Posability, they're basically equal. Tarn has a more limited waist here that you can easily work around by untapping the backhand, but he also has much deeper knees, and he still has opening hands, though I am taking off some points for the hot rod shoulders, which G-Axis just barely managed to avoid. Quality is about the same. Both of them are pretty loose in certain areas, but that really doesn't bother me anymore. Transformation I'm going to give to G-Axis. It's a lot more fun, and while I don't hate Tarn's process, it can be a little bit clashy in some areas. But in terms of the vehicle mode, this is the thing that really gave Tarn that new number 1 spot, because that's perfect. That is exactly Tarn's alt mode, whereas G-Axis' alt mode was the best approximation that they could get with that design. That robot mode is just, there's no way they were turning that robot mode into that jet mode from the comics. That's impossible. The jet mode he had in the comics looks like a retool of Scourge, like G1 Scourge. And if I'm being honest, I like the jet he has. I like the jet the Legacy figure has more, mainly because it looks more like something he turned into. But Tarn still gets the edge in vehicle mode. So basically summarizing that whole thing up, fantastic robot mode, great posing, decent enough transformation, and a perfect alt mode. That sells it. Tarn is easily not just the best figure of this wave, but the best figure of this line so far. It's going to take a lot to overthrow him, but I'm open to changing my opinions. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this ranking. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, you know what to do. I'm not going to bore you with all that generic crap. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, and Godspeed.